Hello, everyone. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, and I just had to jump on, and it is late. We're about 9:45 here on Wednesday, June the 20th. I had to jump on because I wanted to share something with you guys that is totally amazing. If you are in the province of Alberta right now as a foreign worker, you better listen up, because last Thursday, June the 14th, the province of Alberta right here, let's see if I can pull it around here. The province of Alberta announced this little critter right here, the Alberta Opportunity Stream. And this is something that people need to pay attention to, especially if you're one of those foreign workers who is looking for an opportunity to transition from a foreign worker to a permanent resident of Canada, and you're working here in Alberta. So this is specifically for anyone who might be an employer, who may be a foreign worker, I should say an employer of foreign workers in Alberta. You'll have noticed over the last while that Express Entry, which is the last program or the basic generic program the government created to facilitate permanent residence of skilled workers in Canada, well, it has been leaving people in the dust. In particular, people that are hardworking foreign workers in Alberta currently employed with an Alberta employer. So what's the big deal? Well, many of these awesome foreign workers in Alberta are not having an opportunity to immigrate because they can't rank high enough to get through the Express Entry system. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about that. That's a whole other Facebook Live video that I could do. But I am here as a Canadian immigration lawyer based in Alberta, working for the fine law firm right here of, if I can pull it up, Stringham LLP right here. And this insight relates specifically to all of you guys. Now, I've got a few people that are tuned in live, which is really cool. This is going to be somewhat of a re-recorded broadcast, but I love doing it live just because there's so much opportunities for interaction. So as I'm going through this, I'm going to pay attention here. I've got another little mechanism here that allows me to actually field some interaction and some comments from people that are listening. But if you're based in Alberta, listen up, okay? So what we're going to be talking about, I'm going to take this awesome little Alberta symbol. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to disappear this Alberta Opportunity Stream because I don't want this to get in the way. And I'm going to share my screen with you. So as you can see here, this is what I'm going to talk about really quick. This is a lightning fast edition. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I hopefully can share you a little bit of insight about this program so you can figure out whether or not it will actually benefit you. And so let's just jump ahead here, and I am going to shift to the next screen. You're probably wondering, who is this Mark? If you haven't been to my page before, or if you're watching this as a recording, because we're going to spread this out through all of the various social media channels, I'm a local farm boy here. I grew up in a small little farm, I guess I should say, north of a small community called Coaldale in southern Alberta. So that's where I grew up. I'm a University of Lethbridge grad. I got my teaching degree before I became a lawyer. While I was in law school, I worked on the Borders and Immigration Officer, the lovely Alberta Port of Entry between Alberta and Montana, the Carway Port of Entry in particular. So any of you CBSA officers out there that I used to work for, I'm back. All right. Completed my law school in the University of Manitoba, so I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. I do other areas of the law as well for our local clients here, real estate. I do some wills and estates and some business. But for this right here, guys, immigration is the game. And this is where I've spent a lot of time. And as you can see here, I work with the law firm of Stringham LLP right here in the fine metropolis of Lethbridge. But guys, we have offices all across the province, which is really cool. So we are truly one of those made in Alberta solutions. And so if you go to the website here, you can see we cover a ton of different things. Immigration right here in the bottom right is my gig. This is what I'm doing here based out of the Lethbridge office, but we offer this across the province. So no matter where you're listening, we can help you 100% for sure. Okay, I'm just going to zip back for a second, and I am going to go back to the presentation here. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is this is going to be short and quick. That's why I'm talking so fast, because I don't want to bore anyone. If you're looking for more detailed information on this lovely new Alberta Opportunity Stream, you can just go and listen to my Canadian Immigration podcast. So this is kind of something that I give as a way for those of you who don't have time to sit and watch a video. You can, as you're driving, commuting, you can tune in on iTunes. The Canadian Immigration Podcast, I should say, is the mechanism for that. And you can see right here, June 15th, the very next day after it was launched, I created this podcast that covers all of the ins and outs in far more detail than I'm going to cover today. So I wanted to share those little bits with you as we jump right back into the presentation. You can find me everywhere, guys. So just look on social media and you can track me down. Okay, we're here. Alberta Opportunity Stream. What is this? Well, guys, those of you who are in agriculture, I hit that one right off the top because for years, the federal government has ignored you. Well, fortunately now, the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program is actually listening. And they're not only listening, but they, in part, created these modifications to allow you to be able to transition your valuable foreign workers into permanent resident status. So there were some hoops that you had to jump through before, making sure that all of your workers were skilled workers in the ag sector, whether you were employing them as specialized livestock workers or farm supervisors or whatever it was. The reality is now that skill level is irrelevant. So for any foreign worker in Alberta, regardless of skill level, they could qualify. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about that. There is a list of ineligible occupations. As long as that worker and the work permit that they're on and the work that they're performing in the province of Alberta is not on that ineligible list, then you are good to go, subject to this new selection criteria, which I'm also going to get into. And it's a little bit complicated. I'll be honest. It's a little bit complicated. But the whole program is not employer nor industry specific. So this is designed to help qualified who meet the selection criteria, foreign workers who are working in Alberta to transition to permanent residence, regardless of these narrow streams and restricted options. Even when you look at the skilled trade programs, there was that one that really caused a lot of problems, the optional or compulsory trades program. That's out the door. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities subject to this ineligible list. So you got to watch that. So no skilled, no semi-skilled, and it's all designed to also assist with faster processing. So all of these things, guys, are all there to make life a whole lot easier for Alberta foreign workers and the awesome employers who are employing them. Okay, let's take a look at the selection criteria. So right off the bat, you can see here, residency status and work permit requirements. All of these things are required in order to meet the minimum requirements to be eligible. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into the specific details, but the person has to be working in Alberta. They have to be actually living here. So if they are working for an Alberta-based company, but they're working remotely over in another province, ain't going to work. So residency status, you must be here, and they must be on a valid work permit for that employer in the occupation they're applying under at the time the application is submitted and when the application is actually approved. So that whole process, residency, is critical. There's a strong emphasis for people that are living here and working here in Alberta. Okay, occupation requirements, like we talked about, there's no restriction in terms of skill level, but you have to make sure that they're not on the ineligible list. And if you happen to be employing a postgraduate worker, there are separate, more specific rules for them. And there is an Alberta ineligible list for the AINP, or the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. They have an ineligible list for the Alberta Opportunities program. But if they're a postgrad work permit, they also cannot be on the federal. And I'm going to show this to you guys because sometimes it's easier to show than to say. So the AOS, the Alberta Opportunity Stream right here, has a list of ineligible occupations. And let's just take a quick look at them so you can see what they are. They're all listed here. This is subject to change. So there's no guarantee that a position that isn't on here right now is not going to be on in just a little while later. So you have to pay close attention to that. All right, what else do we have? I'm just going to jump on here quick. And I'm always bouncing around, flipping around, so bear with me as I do this. Okay, and here I am back here. Okay, so when you're doing this live, I'm the only tech guy. So if this starts to fall apart and I can't see that it's not working properly, there's no one to let me know. So bear with me. We're back to the ineligible list. Look at on here. We've got the classic ones, right? School principals. Oh, got to make sure escort agency managers, massage parlor managers. No, you're off the list. Elementary school teachers, secondary school teachers. Religious workers are often, they're on the list as well as being ineligible. Authors, writers, musicians, actors, painters, sculptors. You can see all these. I'm going to blow this up bigger so that you guys can see this even more closely here. So performers, artisans, real estate agents, casino occupations, no trappers and hunters, surprise, surprise. Harvesting laborers. So in ag, this is the only one that's actually restricted. And when we're talking about harvesting laborers, we're talking about the fruit pickers. We're talking about the people that come in just purely for harvest. It's seasonal. They're not going to stick around long-term anyways because they're only here for a short period of time. Aquaculture and marine harvest laborers, well, there isn't a lot of that in Alberta to start with. And then mine laborers. So there are some occupations that are ineligible, but your general farm laborer, you can see it's not on this list. You can see that truck drivers, long-haul truck drivers, and you trucking companies better listen to me too, because those positions are not ineligible. But if you have a postgraduate worker who is employed with you on an open work permit, there are additional rules, including they have to make sure their position is not on this list, as well as ESDC's refusal to process list. And some of you who have applied for labor market opinions in the past will remember, or I should say labor market impact assessments. Wow, that was a blast from the past. It's been a few years since we talked about that. There is a high wage and low wage list of occupations where you can see right here, we will not process your application if you are on this list of banned occupations only in Alberta. Well, apparently these positions, there's so many people looking for jobs that they won't even entertain an LMIA. Well, postgrad workers who are on postgrad work permits, they cannot have their position on this list. Otherwise, they're ineligible as well. And if you go through the list here, you can see there's lots of trade level positions, oil and gas. So you got to check both of these lists so you know whether or not you are actually, your person is eligible. But you can see the list is actually quite small. It's not massive. So that's the occupation requirements. Then there are language requirements. And the simple thing is, guys, Canadian Language Benchmark 4, right now, if you act now, that's the minimum language requirements. And if you have a worker who's trying to get through express entry, they may not be able to meet the level 5 right now. They might not be able to. And so if they're unable to meet the CLB level 5, which is the bare minimum for a NOC B under the express entry system, they may not even be able to go through that. But they can through Alberta right now if they act quickly. It's going to be moving up next year. But as it stands right now, if you apply quickly, it's only a CLB4 for reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And they have to do it through the IELTS, the International English Language Testing System Service, whatever it is, as well as the CELPIP, the Canadian one, which is the English Language Placement Test. And that one is a Canadian-based exam. So one of those, they have to write those. Education, well, all that's required at a minimum is high school. And in the past, it was always the Alberta equivalent. Well, not anymore. As of right this minute, it is high school in their home country. So if you've got a Philippine worker who has reached the, the minimum level to obtain a high school diploma in the Philippines, which is often less than Alberta, it will work. So as long as it meets the requirements in the home country, they can qualify right now. So if you have someone with just a high school, away they go. Okay, so that's education. Then the work experience requirements, we've talked about that a little bit, but the person has to be working and they have to have work experience that is consistent with the job they're currently performing for you. So they have to be working on a work permit that specifically names, unless it's a postgraduate work permit, and that's a different explanation. but right now working in an occupation that they have prior work experience in. If it's in Alberta, a minimum of 12 months. If they're looking to get experience outside of Alberta in another Canadian province or even overseas, then they have to demonstrate that they have obtained 24 months of work experience in that occupation within, I think, the previous 36 months, I think it is. And if it's in Alberta, that experience, if they have a minimum of 12 months of experience within the past 18 months, then that satisfies that requirement. And then the last one is income. And this income level requirements are also something new that I want to show you quickly. Oh, I jumped ahead of myself here a little bit. So if we go back here and we take a look at, let's see if I've got it here. We're going to scroll down. This is the site. This is where all the information about the Alberta Opportunity Stream is hidden. We're going to go all the way to the bottom here and I'll show you. So these are the minimums, and this is what is demonstrated. Your yearly income before tax. So this is gross earnings. So as a single, they have to demonstrate that over the year, they have earned at least $21,833 if they're single. And then you can see as the family members add up, so does the minimum income level. But this is gross, and that's not difficult to obtain. So this, guys, is basically what we're talking about. Let's jump one more step to the key things that I want you to remember as I wrap this up. So right off the bat, all skill levels have a chance unless they're on the ineligible list. They need at least a year of work experience in the occupation in which they're applying through. That is the occupation that their work permit is under, or like I said, there's separate rules for post-grad work permits, more restrictive rules. Their education needs to match with their actual work experience. And that's one of the difficult challenges for postgraduate work permit holders. In the past, they could get a degree in science and work as a food service supervisor and qualify. That doesn't cut anymore. We don't know exactly what that related experience, how close it needs to be, but the education needs to have something to do with the work that they're doing in Alberta and their work permit. Well, not the work permit because it's open, but the work they're doing for the Alberta employer. And then it needs to have at least a CLB4 right now. And like I said, next year that's going to change. At least a high school that's the equivalent in their home country and the minimum income level. So there you have it, guys. If you have any questions about this, you're wondering if your worker qualifies, then call us. Call Stringham. You can call me here. Reach me at the office, 403-328-5577. And if you are just looking to send me an email or stop by our office, this is our information. So you can reach me at mholthe@stringham.ca. Mention that you watched this, and I'll make sure that I squeeze you in as quick as possible. All right. So I just wanted to share all of this with you fine folks out there who are watching on Facebook. I'm also going to spin this out into YouTube for my Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And I know that we're also going to spin it out through our Stringham LLP Facebook page and everywhere else we can spread it, where we can spread it. So thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, practicing in the beautiful province of Alberta, Canada, with the fine law firm of Stringham LLP. Take care, guys. I hope this was helpful, and strongly, strongly consider whether the Alberta Opportunities Stream is right for your employee, and if you're a foreign worker, if it's right for you. All right. Take care, everyone.